The speed at which the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan seems to have taken everybody by surprise. Bill Roggio of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies has been closely following the advance of the Taliban over the past few months. And last week he posted this map showing the status of provinces in Afghanistan. The provinces in red and those that were under Taliban that were under Taliban control. Here's what that map looks like today, just 1 week later. Near total Taliban control. So how did it all fall apart so quickly? Joining me now, senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Bill Roggio. Bill, good to see you again, though the circumstances right now are obviously pretty tough, but thanks for being with us.
It's always a pleasure to join you. Unfortunately, it usually means there's bad news, but here we are.
So last we talked, it was the Taliban is taking control of a lot of the country. Now, for all intents and purposes, the Taliban controls Afghanistan. Kabul fell in a matter of days, and this just seems to be an utter disaster. But just focusing on the more the military and tactical side of it, Bill, than the political Biden administration catastrophe component. How did this happen? I mean, we were told there was a 300,000 person Afghan army a matter of weeks ago, and we didn't even hear about any really long drawn out battles for any of these cities in recent weeks. What went on here?
Yeah, this is a Taliban, the result of a Taliban strategy that was in the works for years, combined with a massive misunderstanding of what the Taliban was by the U.S. establishment, U.S. intelligence officials, the U.S. military, and three successive administrations that denied the fact that the Taliban only wanted to retake control of Afghanistan and revisit its Islamic Emirate. So how does this unfold? In 2014, when the U.S. military transfers control to the Afghan security forces, the U.S. military was focused on securing the cities. Right? They were focused on a population-centric counterinsurgency strategy. The Taliban said, fine, we don't care about the cities right now. We're going to go after the rural areas. They did a rural insurgency, and we'll take these areas, and then we'll expand our control outward. And that's exactly what they did. And it's exactly why this map that I've been tracking for 7 years, that's why I created it, because I recognized this strategy. And over time, they expanded their control little by little by little, up until President Biden's announcement, where they controlled, I would say, about a sixth of the districts in Afghanistan. Think of them as counties here in the United States. And about half of the districts were contested. These were places where the Taliban was clashing with Afghan security forces. So over the course of that time, the Taliban built up its strength, and it almost hollowed out the Afghan security forces in the process. In many of those areas that were contested, military bases or district centers, they were under siege from the Taliban. They were cut off from resupply. So when the Taliban, after President Biden made the announcement April 14th, the Taliban waited for that May 1st date so it could say it lived up to its part of that awful Doha agreement signed by the Trump administration. And then it launched its offensive. And then over the course of 3.5 months, nearly every one of those contested districts went under Taliban control. And as soon as they controlled those districts, then that rural insurgency strategy that we talked about, they were at the city gates. And then it was just a matter of taking cities and provinces. And then that's what they did. The North went first, along with the West. The North is the key strategic area. That's where all the government power brokers are. The Taliban denied them their base of support. It also denied them a future Northern alliance, but that's for another day. Then it swept the South quickly. Then it swept the East. This was a course of 12 days. So people are saying this was an immensely quick collapse. But when you look at the history of this, when the history of this is written, and I hope to do that someday soon, you're going to see that the Taliban had a plan. It was patient. It executed this plan under the noses of U.S. intelligence, Afghan intelligence, and the U.S. military. They planned, organized, and executed this sophisticated operation under the nose of multi-billion-dollar intelligence services and the U.S. military, which instead of worrying about what the Taliban was doing militarily, bought into the Doha process. It bought into the idea that there could be peace. We were playing a game for a tie, and the Taliban were playing the win. And guess what? When that's the case, the guy playing the win usually will win.
What is the truth? I mean, when we look at the Doha agreement from the Trump administration beforehand, I'm seeing people that are saying, Bill, well, the moment that the Taliban made moves on provincial capitals, then that could have triggered provisions that had already been set out, that Biden could have started doing escalated airstrikes, and that there was essentially a military response that was supposed to be a part of that process. Is that accurate? I mean, what was baked in here, and what were decisions that Biden clearly made?
Yeah, that's completely inaccurate. So this is some of the flack that the people that supported this deal put out there to confuse everyone. So first of all, this deal is 3 1/3 pages. And most of it, about half of a page of it, talks about how the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan it doesn't exist, and it's really the Taliban. I've signed car loan agreements that are far, far longer than this agreement. And in there, if you search for this, the agreement, and do a word search on there, there's nothing in there that says reduction in violence or the Taliban won't attack capitals. It really, all it says, the only key thing that the Taliban was supposed to do was not allow Al Qaeda to operate in areas it controlled, and not provide support for them. And they lied about that. So there was nothing stopping the Trump administration or the Biden administration from preventing this Taliban advance. The reality is that 3 successive administrations wed themselves to peace with the Taliban while the Taliban used the peace talks to force the U.S. to withdraw.